Hey guys, it's Drazo here. Now, today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm kind of stepping out of my comfort zone with this one, but if you enjoy what you saw here today, let me know. Because today I'm going to be working on just a basic guide to Tiandi. I don't know how complex it will be. I'm just putting the preference basic because I myself don't know the full extent of the character's capabilities, so I'm just going to assume it's basic. Despite the fact I probably played Tiandi a good 4 reps each tech test, and probably at the time of uploading this I'll have another 3 or 4. But I know a lot of you don't own Season Pass, and you're going to get on in a week and you're going to have no idea how to play these characters for the most part. So I'd like to make a little resource for those people, and for some people that have these characters and don't know how to play them in the first place. So let's get started. Now, Tiandi is a character based around mainly his dodge attack, the dragon dodge. It's 25 damage now? Okay. Now this thing can be hard feinted and can be soft feinted into either another dodge heavy or just a regular dodge, as you can see here. Notice it consumes a significant amount of stamina. As you can see in the bottom right, I'm using 50 stamina almost to cancel into another dragon dodge. Now, through this you have quite a versatile amount of options. Normally, I still haven't figured out the correct way to initiate with Tiandi, but let's go into the max potential of this dodge attack. This dodge attack has, I think now they nerfed the iframes down to 800, and it has a 200 MS startup, so it's slightly better than Kensei's. Just on its own, but it can also be refreshed, of course. Kensei's Swift Strike usually can't punish moves like Conk's Bashes, however. The opponent's guard recovers too fast for the Kensei Swift Strike to connect. By canceling your dodge heavies, you can punish faster moves like Warlord Headbutts and Conk's Shield Bash. This can make Tiandi very strong. Unlike Kensei's, its follow-ups don't have hyper armor, but you can get an option of a 400 MS light follow-up from the dragon dodge, but for the most part you use this more as a defensive weapon rather than a way of initiating your fight. This is basically Kensei Swift Strike on steroids. It can really screw with characters like Warden, who rely on baiting out dodge attacks and other things, but the downsides of the matchup start to show when it comes to characters like Berserker, where it doesn't shine through as well. Despite this, I still like to mix it up every once in a while, and I like to let out a neutral dodge heavy and then feint it up to about the parry timing and guard break my opponent. That can sometimes work, but it's usually too buffered to be reliable. Now, besides dodge heavies on Tiandi, you also have dodge lights. These dodge lights are initiated at 200 MS into the dodge, and they are 500 MS themselves. They also have an undodgeable property from all directions. And from the first 100 MS startup to the ending 300 MS, I believe, there's a crushing counter frame. Basically, when you see an indicator, you would input it like a crushing counter by using the dodge light to attack towards the attack, and it would do a 22 damage counter. The follow-ups to dodge lights can open up some very simple but reasonable and semi-effective moves. Just the follow-up palm strike. The palm strike input is a backstep guard break. It's very similar in concept to how Gladiator functions. Normally after your dash lights, most players do this. This is also the same speed as Gladiator's toe stab, 600 MS. So you can follow this up after any light attack. I don't advise following this up after every dash light. People will start to catch on, but fortunately with the new changes they made to the palm strike, you can now whiff it and follow up with it. From a whiff palm strike, you have two options: a top light or your dodge forward heavy, which you don't have to hit the dodge forward input for, it just does it automatically. So this makes, for the most part, palm strike pretty safe, because you can react to guard breaks with the light. Just don't be trigger happy with the light, or else you'll end up getting parried. Now, Understand when you're using these dash lights, they have very little iframes, and it will get you killed sometimes if you are, especially in a situation where you have two opponents and you change lock, you swap targets mid dodge attack, you will whiff and you will get hit by your second opponent's attack. In practice, you mainly want to use these dodge lights to interrupt opponents' attacks, etc. Other than that, they're used as crushing counter attempts, and they make semi-decent target swapping, especially if they come out of the soft feinted kick. I catch a lot of people with that, as you'll see in this clip here. Try to avoid throwing these dash lights from neutral. I feel like over time, people are going to get adjusted to them more, and they're going to become much easier parry for the majority of the player base. You can kind of dodge around opponents' lights by attacking the opposite direction of their light, but it doesn't work the same way with heavies, and a lot of times you'll find yourself being caught by opponents' heavies in the middle of your dash lights. So like I said, use these very wisely or else it's going to get you killed. Now another part of Tiandi's offense is his 400 MS chain lights. With the way the moveset works, there's actually a lot of variety you can mix this up in. From the previously mentioned dodge lights, we can chain any omnidirectional 400 MS light. Now these have a decent delay window. I would say it's similar to PK's, but it's not as good as like Nushia's or Orochi's in my opinion. But I digress. Now I can chain my 4 MS light just from anything. From my heavies, which has a little more generous window, as do most heavy into light chains with 4 MS delayed lights. Like I said, for my previously mentioned whiffed palm strike, which is only from one direction, keep of note. It's only from top. You can see my guard is on the left here. And for my regular 500 MS opening light, which the follow-up light seems a lot more delayable than the previously mentioned dash light, as you can see here. This enables some levels of dynamic play where the concept of 400 MS lights are they are unreactable. So if I throw this, the opponent would have to, if I'm delaying it properly, it should be unreactable. So the opponent has to guess where it's coming from. Now, what you do to make this work sometimes is you can do stuff like, and this goes for every character with 400 MS chain lights usually. You usually, instead of doing the 4 MS chain light, you'll like to feint your heavy into a guard break. Now, the one exception to this rule is if your opponent has 100 MS guard break vulnerability on their heavy. Do not attempt this in that case. You will end up eating a heavy. Now, why does this work, you might ask? This is because the opponent will be parrying the 4 MS delayed light on prediction, so you'll end up getting them with a guard break. Or you can even use a palm strike to throw them off as well. When we combined what we know about the dodge heavy and dodge light, we actually get a very interesting option select that can counter probably the biggest threat to Tiandi's dodge heavy. Now, as you can notice, if thinking about this for a second, what in your head could stop 800 MS of refreshable iframes? An undodgeable attack, of course. I understand you can also hard feint the dodge itself and try attempting to block the attack, but you don't really have the option to counter it as easily. You probably, because of the guard delay, you won't be able to parry it. So this option enables you to counter things, not just undodgeables, just any move that you can time well enough from the dodge heavy. Now, with your dodge heavy, you can also soft feint these into dodge lights. As you can see here, the Orochi is sketching me. But now, if I can get the bot to do it at the same time. There we go. I finally got the option selected. That took a lot of tries to do, honestly. It's not very easy to do, so it's gonna take a lot of attempts to get this for a less experienced player. A good gimmick I know of is most people don't know you can actually chain your dodge lights after your whiffed heavies. Now what that enables you to do as well is back to the previously mentioned option select with the dodge heavies. You can now, like, if I whiff my heavy like this and my opponent goes to use a dodge attack to either punish it or something of the nature, or like another bash maybe, I can react to it with a dodge light, or if it's a bash with a regular light.
That's actually pretty good, dude.
Now, along with your dodge heavies, you have a hard feintable version from top. Remember, after our whiff palm strike, we have this move. This is also your dodge forward heavy, which has hyper armor as well and does 20 damage. Now, from there, I can chain my 4 MS lights, or like from any heavy, I can chain my dragon kick. Now, dragon kick's a little trickier to understand. It needs to wall splat, and you have to be within range of the opponent to get your punish. You'll see as like the Orochi here is just sliding off the wall. Now this one's guaranteed damage, I believe, and I think you get a top heavy from that. That's a recent change with the just before they released Marching Fire, so I'm not entirely familiar with this mechanic, so feel free to correct me in the comment section. You can still always get chipped from your heavy and follow up with a 400 MS delayed light, effectively giving you a proper punish. As for the dragon kick itself, this makes it a somewhat viable mix-up in 1v1, but for the most part it's not the greatest thing, but a lot of people do just respond to the kick even though it doesn't guarantee anything. It has similar functionality in 4v4 as Shikoki's Demon Ball, which is the heavy off of guard break, except the guarantees just about one teammate heavy typically because of the range it has. Really, in 4v4, you're using this move to either force an opponent off a point or ledge them. The kick itself is probably 900 MS, I believe, and you cannot punish this. If I whiff this kick, my opponent cannot guard break me. I don't know if it counts for Raider. I'm pretty sure even he can't. I'm not going to bet on it though. But you can also immediately parry after this too, so it's 100% safe. The other thing you can do with the dragon kick, which remember, it only chains after a blocked heavy or confirmed heavy and soft feints through your zone. These are the only ways to access this move. Now, once you've gotten into this move, from the beginning of it, at the startup of the dragon kick, you can soft feint into your dodge lights. Hold down the direction of your movement and do a light attack while you're holding down the input for the dragon kick, and it should work fine. It's kind of tricky to get. It takes a little practice, I assure you. It has a specific window, but over time it'll become very natural and easy to do. A lot of people seem to dodge from this zone a lot after I hard feint it because they're afraid of a dragon kick for some reason. I don't know. The dragon kick's very reactable, but I see a lot of people caught off by this, so take that into note. Now, a smarter opponent would sit there and wait and just realize, okay, he's not going to soft feint the kick, and if he does, I'm going to react to the kick or the soft feint from the kick. Now, a good way to mix that up too is to hard feint the zone into a palm strike as well. That's caught me off guard. A friend of mine showed me this, and I was actually surprised how decent of a mix-up it was. But for the most part, your zone is just... You can use it to option select to some extent, but for most part, it's for 1vx. It has too high stamina cost to use frequently. Despite all these cool gimmicks and stuff, your offense is somewhat limited, just down to a basic unblockable bash and a 4 MS delayed light. Realistically, when it comes to Tiandi, all your chains, as you can see in the moveset here, they're only 2 shots and you're done, and then you're stuck in recovery. So light, dash light, 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 heavy, heavy, dodge heavy, dodge heavy, light, etc. And this goes for just about everything. The only exception to this is the palm strike. I can do light into palm strike, and then I can even follow up after that. This is the only exception to this rule. Other than that, all the Tiandi's chains are 2 hits and you're done. So this is good to know if you're trying to fight Tiandi as well, but this understanding your limitations here is going to put you in a better place, because there's many moments where I thought I could go the extra mile and I could do something fancy.
But however, I was sadly mistaken, and I come to realize that whiffing your chains is very deadly as Tiandi, and you have to watch out for that.
Tiandi's max punish on a light parry is a top heavy. Tiandi's max punish on heavy parry is a zone for 20 damage. You can also follow up with any light attack for 15 damage and consume significantly less stamina. This is consuming 10 times stamina for zone, mind you. On out of stamina parry, your max punish is a top light into top heavy. You want to slightly delay your light so that it hits the opponent, or else it will whiff right before them, as you can see here. Now from out of stamina throw, you have, I use right throw, side light, side heavy. Now I'm not good with max punishes, so there could be so many errors with that, and please feel free to correct me. So let me do a quick rundown of your feats you'd be running in both Dominion and Breach. I think there's a separation between the two, personally. Some might disagree with me, but this is my opinion. In the first tech test, the closed one, Rally Call used to be very strong, but now the effects are almost unnoticeable. I don't see a reason to take it at all, so I would just ignore this feat completely. Come At Me, on the other hand, is the go-to feat for Warden, which is a Vanguard also like Tiandi. Now, a lot of people have instant doubts when I mention this feat. They assume it's a bad feat instinctively, and they kind of brush it off. But this is probably the most optimal feat for Tiandi and for Warden as well. Now, how you use this is you pair it with Morale Booster, and you usually just farm mid and occasionally boost points to get closer to your tier 4 feats to help your teammate out. But for the most part, that's the full extent of it. For the other feat, this is what I like to use personally, because you know, I just like pressing buttons, honestly. I have to admit it. So I use Tireless. I don't think it's the most optimal choice, but that's what I use.
Now for tier 2 feats, you have Sacrifice over here, starting with the first one. And oh boy, they got this feat apparently. Now as I'm saying this, I'm re-recording over my previous messages because I did not know this was nerfed up until a day ago. This now, instead of before where it used to sacrifice not only a whopping 2.5 bars of health to heal your teammates, now you sacrifice the same amount of health and you don't heal your teammates. It just restores their stamina.
Are you serious, Ubisoft?
But, so don't touch this at all.
Now for your second feat, I would recommend using Marked for Death, because you don't really have anything else better. Doom Banner got nerfed recently for some reason. I don't know why. They forgot to update the description. It does not have an attack debuff anymore. And its defense is flat 20%, which is decent, but the problem is it's an AoE banner. So unless you're using it on a specific point, it really doesn't have any purpose, and you'd be better off with Marked for Death.
Despite the fact that I think they may have recently nerfed this feat, I still think this is probably your go-to feat for Tiandi. There can be some exceptions, though.
Because, as you notice here, Tiandi does not have body count. So Tiandi, in not only Breach and Dominion, should be using this feat. It is the go-to, I would say. You do have some other options nonetheless. I'm not going to discredit these other two because they do have their uses. My preferred one is Vital Leech.
Now Battlecry here is decent for controlling minions, especially in Breach.
I just think that a healing feat is more vital in a game like Breach or even Dominion. So that's my personal opinion. But this overall could help benefit your team more, which with your Come At Me setup could make a better snowball. So this is not a bad decision either. Neither is Protect Revive, which with a... I don't know if Tiandi has a Rising Dawn perk set. No? Oh, she does. Okay. Yeah, so now with the Rising Dawn perk set, Protect Revive is not a bad choice for yourself. As for fourth feats, Indomitable is, I would say it's a decent fourth feat. The problem is it doesn't really have the oomph of a fourth feat. It kind of just, it just stalls a little bit, and it's just a self buff for half a shield. Now, the shield is permanent, and it will keep you alive, but for the most part, it doesn't serve a lot of endgame practicality. Now, when we were talking about Come At Me earlier, this is what would be the endgame practicality, because you would want to snowball it by gaining renown with your double renown from Come At Me to morale booster. This is the way to go in Dominion. I don't think, in my opinion, using Come At Me and Breach seems a little bit, I don't recommend it as much, because with Tiandi's damage output, you will be taking more damage from the minions than you will be dealing half the time, which is not ideal. Last Laugh, I mean, it's a meme feat, in my opinion. It's good. It works. There's nothing wrong with using it. You would just probably, it'd be more likely you'd want something to benefit your team more, like Morale Booster. Last Laugh does make you a threat, though, and I'd say it would still be better than Downable.
But I think we've covered just about everything there is that I know about Tiandi so far. There are going to be things I've missed, but for the most part, I tried to keep everything I've learned from playing the closed test and now, and hopefully provided some info for people coming into the character, because I saw a lot of people were struggling with this character. So hopefully this helped.